So as you reach the river, you're going to come up to this beautiful sort of Romanesque type structure, all stone. This is the Seneca River Aqueduct, also known as the Montezuma Aqueduct or the Richmond Aqueduct. And here in this kiosk here, they've decided to call it the Richmond Aqueduct, named after Van Richmond, the builder. This was the second longest aqueduct of all the 5 big aqueducts on the whole enlarged Erie Canal system. And the reason for this was simple. It was that the Seneca River is a wide, very mushy bottom, slow-moving, shallow river, and just was difficult to get across. If it went too low, the boats would hit bottom. It could flood. This empties a number of the Finger Lakes, and it's just a real issue for the canal boats to get across it. Back when they used to do a slack water crossing, we'll discuss that a little later. So the replacement for it was this, or the replacement when they did the enlarged Erie, was to come up with this aqueduct. And the aqueduct was dismantled when they put the barge canal through. This is also the barge canal, so this is your second or third canal you're seeing here. When they put the barge canal through, they had to dismantle the aqueduct, so they took it out piece by piece and dumped it on the far shore. If you go over in Seneca County, go back in off of 31 and find your way back to the power lines, you can see a number of the stones over there, over on the other side, and a few arches. But there's still 7 arches here. River is really very low right now, so we're going to go down and walk underneath, see if we can get underneath this guy. So we've walked down off the bank and walked down to the river here. As I said, the river is really high and dry, so we're able to walk down underneath here. And it's really worth coming down because it's actually more spectacular to see it from the bottom than it is the top, just to see the stonework. Of course, probably one of the most famous views of the aqueduct is people taking pictures from this angle here, just sticking out into the river. You see a number of stones. These were all the capstones up on the towpath wall. And they've been all pushed in over the years by people just playing around. But remarkably, the stonework is in really good condition for being neglected since 1918. When the canal was in use, the Seneca River was actually 4 to 6 feet higher than it is right now. When they built the barge canal, they put in dam control structures at the head of Cuga Lake, which controls the flow from Seneca River and from Seneca Lake and Cuga Lake. That's at Lock 1 now. So what that does is it lowers the river. So back when the Seneca River was running wild, it was actually, and sometimes you could see the mud work or the staining on the rock walls here, but it was about 4 blocks up. So if you look at period pictures of the aqueduct, you'll see that the water is much higher. In fact, we would be underwater right here. But you can still see how much, they say you could take a boat right underneath this. It's a July 4th weekend, and we got people on the other side camping out. The Seneca River or Seneca County side of the river is very popular, people camping. So we got ATV traffic in the background. ticks are an issue. Poison ivy is an issue, so yeah, unless you're all covered up, which I am not, don't encourage you walking through the tall grasses. So we'll avoid that. All right, we've walked over to the berm side of the large canal of the aqueduct. Used to be 22 of these arches going across here. Reduced down to, well, there were 8. The last one you can see sort of collapsed down there. It's down to 7 arches. There are 3 on the other side. This was the second longest of the 5 long aqueducts. There was a crescent, which was down by Albany. It was the first aqueduct across the Mohawk River. Then this one here, the Rochester, which is still in use as Broad Street. And then there was the Rexford, and then the Schoharie, I think, was 5th. Schoharie was a popular state park. I remember visiting as a kid. It used to look a lot like this, and now it's just in pieces. So this is probably the most intact one, other than the one in Rochester. Of course, the one in Rexford, there's a couple piers. There's nothing at Crescent. There might be a couple of abutments to see a little bit of stonework. We're going to take it down, walk down along here. So we're walking down basically into the river. You know, you can see the really, it's worth coming over here because you get the really nice detailing. These half balls or half rounds. The way the stonework was done to sort of shed the ice. These piers, the piers would always be on the upstream side because they would be the ice breakers. And then the towpath is on the downstream side, so it'd be protected from any ice flows or flooding. This would also strain out all the debris. We're going to walk down. There's a new trail over here on the berm side. It's a dead-end trail that the folks here at the park, this is a town park, and the volunteers have been hard at work opening up more access. Again, this was all floodplain. You could see all the trees and everything when the water comes up in higher and sort of floods everything out and brings all the debris in. But right now it's bone dry. Very nice area to walk through. All right, we walked down to the end of the dead-end trail on the berm side, and quite a nice little place being carved out here by the volunteers, really opening up the views. And again, if I was on a kayaking trip and going across in the Erie Canal, boy, this would be a place to stop and overnight, because it's nice. A lot of dead wood to start a fire, but you get this beautiful view of the arches on the other side. There's 3 arches over there in the weeds. It's best to go in the fall, winter if it's no snow, early spring. You can wander, you can't even see the towpath. It's all overgrown so badly. It's overgrown with trees, and you can see the piers there. So that was the west end of the aqueduct. If you're lost, look for the power lines, because the NIMO, or whatever it's called now, owns the right-of-way, so they got this power line. So the power lines is always an indicator where you have to be if you're back in there looking for the trail, or for the Erie Canal remains. And we'll start heading back. Take a look at a couple other sites to see in the park.